Wide Awake in South Mississippi is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is the story of Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother, Kobe Bahanovich. Together they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. The Wide Awake in South Mississippi podcast is hosted by Anthony Allen. If you have a news story, or if you are a political candidate and want to get on the show, please give me a call at area code 904-860-2502. All right, y'all. It's time for another episode of Wide Awake in South Mississippi. This will be my fifth one in like 2 days, but I'm keeping them short, so hopefully I can keep y'all entertained. I have Felix Gines, and he is running for Mississippi House of Representatives District 115, and I'm going to let him come on here and tell you why you should vote for him on Tuesday in the runoff against Grady. Go ahead, Felix. Tell a little bit about yourself, and let's get it going.
Hello, Mr. Anthony. How are you doing? You doing okay?
I'm living the dream, brother, living the dream.
Absolutely. And basically, I'm Felix Gines, council member of Biloxi, Ward 2, city councilman. Been there over 10 years in a councilman. And one of the reasons why I'm running for this position is to try to bring visibility to District 115. As you know, District 115 has no visibility in a long time. And for Biloxi and D'Iberville. And Biloxi and D'Iberville is the biggest money-making district in the state of Mississippi. And we need a representative who can be there, who can be vocal. Now, one of the things is our tide lands and our BP funds. The BP funds, out of the BP funds, out of the $57 million that came to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, only 1 million hit District 115, which is a little unfair. And we need someone in there that can kind of bring a light to it and show things, show how we can get the monies down into our area, the one who's driving the tourism revenue dollars. And that's one of the main reasons why I am running, among others.
Well, Felix, that sounds wonderful, and it'd be nice to get some of that funding back down here where it belongs. And of course, District 115 was heavily impacted during the BP spill, and we all remember that. And I think that money should all stayed on the coast. That's just my opinion. But you know, Jackson's going to get their grubby little hands on it.
Absolutely. It was the 75-25 split. And if you can recall, out of the 25% there, not one of the catfish farms got a drop of oil. All the oil was on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Yeah, I don't think it'll flow that high up into the rivers heading into the northern part of the state. But, you know, it's Jackson. They're going to put their hands everywhere and, you know, probably pad their own pockets would be my opinion. I have no love for politicians in Jackson. I'll go ahead and tell you that now. There's only a couple up there I can tolerate. So this is what I wanted to ask you, Felix. You've been facing a lot of flack here, and I want you to answer some of the questions of the detractors.
Okay.
What's that? Somebody told me that you built two gates in 10 years or something like that. You want to respond to that?
I built two what now?
Somebody said that that the only thing you have done is built 2 gates or 2 fences in 10 years since you've been on the city council for the city of Biloxi.
Now, if you're talking about the Keesler Gate project, which is a game changer for our community, absolutely.
And it was needed. It was definitely needed.
Definitely needed because we stood a chance of losing Keesler for space, and we're talking about we're talking right up to the close to $1 billion that we can lose if we lost Keesler for space. You know that they almost took the Flying Jennies away from us, and it was all because of the vulnerability that Keesler had with the security. Mainly, we're talking the gate. So that was something that was definitely needed. And you're talking about Keesler being one of the driving forces of Biloxi's economy. If we lost that, we would have lost a whole lot.
Yeah,
so
and that has been our driving
gate,
force. That has been a driving force in Biloxi for 80 years. Over 80 years.
Over 80 years, and we almost brack. It's the military call it, which I'm a military person, refers to that as brack. And of course, we're gonna stand up, especially for our military, because if we lose our military, we lose a whole lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know a lot of people really don't understand why we needed a new gate. I can go ahead and say this, being a commercial driver myself, as I was for many years, it's really hard to get stuff into Keesler when you have to fight all the traffic, cruising the coast, etc. And the commercial gate, if I'm not mistaken, was Gate 3 at White Avenue, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, yes. The commercial gate was, the main gate was White Avenue. And now it's Division Street.
Right, right.
Bringing it right off I-10, which makes things a whole lot easier. It makes it a whole lot easier to find Keesler. And then our visitors who come to Keesler don't have to get stuck in the cruising the coast traffic, get stuck in scraping the coast traffic.
And that's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. So we needed that infrastructure there. And I know it took a while. And I know it was aggravating. And it's still, when I drive on that area of town, it's still hard to get used to what's going on over there because whenever I go to the back bay from West Biloxi, I usually take the back way. I don't like taking 90 because of all the tourists, and I'll be honest with you.
Right.
I'll take Irish Hill, run it up Gill Avenue, hit Judge Seacool, Forest Avenue, and then run that on up to Bayview. And that's if I go anywhere on the east end of town. That's usually the way I take. Either go all the way to Bayview or hit Division Street. So it does take me a little bit of getting used to. But I have noticed that, it does seem to streamline it because you get off right there at the Division Street exit. You take that right and, a mile or so down, you're there. Not even a mile, really. Probably about a half a mile down.
Absolutely, and when you're talking, of course, you're going to have naysayers that's going to talk about a lot of things. And one thing I haven't gotten into when I started in this game, I don't get in the habit of beating my chest every time we get one little small accomplishment. But if I had to name a few, let's look at the revitalization of the View Marche. Look how far it's come. That's Ward 2. Look at the baseball stadium that has been built. I was very instrumental in that. Matter of fact, the holdup of the stadium was when I was out with the National Guard. They had to wait for me to come back to be the deciding vote to make sure we got that. And look how much traffic that's come to the downtown area. That's another area. Look at the North Project of all the works. When I walked in, we've already had the $355 million over 7 years. We had $355 million. And that project didn't get started for 7 years prior to me getting there. And I was the one who actually got there. And, of course, with the contract already being put in place, somebody had to manage it and put it back on track. And I was the one who went to D.C. to get the $8.5 million to make sure the project got back on track. So those are just a few small things that I've done, not saying and not counting the grocery store that I've been working on for the second time. Finally got one landed, and then of course the new community center that's there. So that's enough for 15, 20 years worth of work, and you can put my record up against any councilman anywhere on the coast, and I know that I have just as much, if not way more than any other councilman on the coast.
All right, well, let's talk about the Vue Marché for a minute, because I remember the Vue Marché. You know, I remember going through there, and as a kid, it was still, you know, I was born in 1984. So I remember it being nothing more than a one-lane road. There was a bunch of buildings in there, but I think the only nightclub was the upstairs, downstairs back then. That's how far back we're going, okay? There was a bus stop there. There was a library. Of course, you had Elsie's hardware store. There wasn't really a whole lot there. Ever since then, and granted, it's taken, again, I don't like change, so it's taken me some getting used to it. I think it's definitely improved, and it's opened up for more businesses in the area, and it has revitalized and revamped the downtown area.
Absolutely. And let me give you a little base on it. That was that thing called urban renewal. And urban renewal really put a damper on the Vue Marché area, which is now back to being Howard Avenue. And when urban renewal came, most of the businesses ended up moving, leaving. And of course, you know, that was the surgence of the mall, Edgewater Mall, matter of fact.
Right. And that all happened when Edgewater Mall opened up and everything moved to the west, and downtown Biloxi, as a kid, almost looked like a ghost town compared to what it does now.
It was definitely a ghost town. But now, you know, with Morgan Freeman's Blues Club, with the axe throwing, with the sandbar, with the First Friday initially kicking off down there in the Vue Marché, it gave it that kickstart that it needed. And that's what it's all about. So those things are happening and still happening in Ward 2. So if you want to hit the negative stuff, that's, you know, you have a right to hit some negative stuff, but don't forget the positive stuff, because there are more positive than negatives.
Well, I'll tell you what, y'all bring back Jippy Jack and I'll be happy.
Absolutely. Along with crime being brought down, along with
well, that's what I wanted to get into. I wanted to talk about the crime for a second, but I wanted to wait on that if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem.
All right. I'm a little unfamiliar on this, but I have heard people discuss it, and I've heard a lot of people that are a little bit upset with you just discuss this $10,000 bond or grant for Martin Luther King. Do you want to explain to me what all that was about?
It was something that well, let me put it to you like this, and I'm going to affectionately say it. You know, the city of Gulfport, which have two African American council members, they went away from the coastwide Martin Luther King celebration. They went away from it, and there are obvious reasons why they went away from it, because they had problems with the personnel that was involved with it. They had a problem with the audit that they received. I looked at it too, and I also had problems with it. And so any other councilman could have picked it up. Any other councilman or mayor could have picked it up. They could have went with it. I was uncomfortable with putting my name on it. Anything that I didn't see that looked right, things that I didn't see that was going right, I'm not going to put my name on it. And it's about integrity. If an audit doesn't look right, what do? You keep your hands off of it.
Absolutely.
And Gulfport decided to do it, and I followed suit. Now, any other member of the council could have done it. The mayor could have done it. you had other avenues to do. Why nobody else picked it up? And then not just me, because of course I get the biggest blame because I'm the lone African American on the Biloxi City Council, but no one said anything to either one of the Gulfport councilmen, African American councilmen members that voted to not put their hands on it.
Well, I mean, if there's something not right with the audit, I mean, that can get you in trouble real quick, fast, and in a hurry. So let's not do that.
Well, and the other thing too is, I don't do things at the last. I try not to do things at the last minute. Of course, I know there are certain cases and certain instances about certain things, but hey, like I said, I looked at the overall thing and I didn't want to put my hands on the audit. After seeing that audit, I didn't want to put my hands on it.
I understand. All right, well, let's talk about crime for a minute. And I will say that crime is increasing on the coast. Period. I've covered this in other podcasts, and I've covered the why. But in your district as well, in District 2, is going on right there by the Beau Rivage.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have Water Street, you have Rue Petty Boy, you have Jackson Street, all in that area.
Yes.
I like to walk that area. I do.
Okay.
I find it. I've always, it's just been a peaceful place for me to walk. Even as a kid, I'd break curfew and go walk through there. Or ride my bicycle through there, and I'm talking about as a teenager. So we're going back almost 30 years for me on this.
Right.
So I came back from Florida in 2020. I was gone from 2016 until 2020. And when I came back, I could not believe what I was seeing down there. There's always been homeless hanging out down there, but they didn't really bother you too much. They'd sleep on a bench and mind their business.
Right.
I'm walking, I want to say it was right around December of 20 or January of 21. I'm walking in that area, and there's people that are aggressively panhandling, demanding, not just begging for money, not just, hey man, let me hold $1, but aggressively. I honestly thought I was going to have to pull my pistol on this guy. That's how erratic he was acting. And, thankfully I've never had to use lethal force. I've had to show it, but I've never had to use it. But the other part is the Shell station across the street from the Beau Rivage, as I've said many times, they now have armed security. I've never seen that store need armed security before. And I'm kind of wanting to get your opinion on why that's happening.
Homelessness has gotten out of hand. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is. I have to admit, most people, most of the time, the nicest way to put it is the can got kicked down the road. I'm not trying to blame any particular person. I'm not blaming any politician. But what I am saying is this: the can has been kicked down the road, and that needs to be dealt with. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit because you brought something about crime, different things like that. In the community of Ward 2, in the community of Ward 1, the bicycle trail, our bicycle host, what is his name now? The bicycle guy. He has definitely, when we have visitors that come to town, they coming right through our area. Right down Division Street on these new roads. They're going down Estes Boulevard on all of our new roads. And they make all kinds of routes through my community. Do you think that the diverse group of bicycle riders would come through my community if they didn't feel safe? Of course, they feel safe, and that's why they come through here.
And I have noticed that too, and I was actually going to mention something about that,
right.
because I think that's an excellent thing. I see that as an untapped opportunity for somebody.
No other area in town do they ride with a diverse group of people in any other town than through my area. My area is the most frequent area that's being used as a bicycle trail. And there's a very good reason for it, because we are safe. Now, in saying that, moving forward back to your homeless issue, yeah, we need to do more. And that's why I was at the little symposium that the Back Bay Mission had. The thing that has to happen is the agencies are going to have to get on one page. The agencies, along with the city, we have to find a single page into handling this. That has been the issue there. I went to a conference in Olympia, Seattle, Washington, and right up in Olympia also.
I've been there. It's a beautiful area.
Yes, beautiful. And they have a way of dealing with that. And I gave that plan to the mayor, and I also shared it at the symposium of some things that we can do to make this thing work. It's doable. The thing is, it has to take a degree of commitment. And if you put the city by itself to do it, it's not going to happen. If you put an agency by itself to do it, it's not going to happen. We have to work in concert. Somebody has to play the piano. Somebody has to play the guitar. And somebody has to be on the drums in order to make this work.
All right. Well, I do want to mention one more thing about crime that I have noticed. Little known fact about me. I went to junior high at Nichols, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the 90s, we know what it was like in the 90s in that area of town.
Yes, we do.
Okay, it was pretty bad. And, of course, Nichols sits right there at Division Street and Nichols Drive. And
yeah.
I remember somebody getting shot. I want to say it was right there by that dollar store.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking in the 90s, so my memory's a little hazy on it. But I want to say it was either at that dollar store, it might have been on Roy Street, maybe on Nixon Street, somewhere in that area. Anyway, that's how bad the crime was back then. Now, as you said, I do feel safer in that neighborhood.
Bar none.
I will say that compared to 25 years ago.
Look, my opponent went and did a record request, and to verify what I said, and and you notice it hadn't been mentioned at all. It has not been mentioned.
I think it should be mentioned. I think it should be mentioned because, Division Street had a stigma about it back then, and it still does, even today, to those of us who know what it used to be. I remember as a child going to Gulf Coast Family Clinic, the public clinic that used to be down there on Division.
Yes, Coastal Family Health Center.
Yeah, Coastal Family Health Center. Okay. Not the new one, the old one.
Yes, I know.
Okay. And I remember the street lights having glass shattered and on the street. And I didn't realize it at the time because keep in mind, we're talking, I was like 6 and 7 years old. We're talking the early 90s here. But looking at it now and knowing what I know, remembering what it looked like somebody had shot him out.
Absolutely. Let me say this.
And I don't see that today. I don't see that today.
what we do is we look at all the negative stuff and we scream and holler about the negative stuff, but no one wants to bring up anything positive anymore. It's like we have to put everybody has a gun to your head and everybody wants to be the person that pulls the trigger. You know, start looking at some of the better things. Just like you said, you remember what it was like in the 90s. You remember what it was like early 2000s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Look at it now. And like you said, you could peacefully walk. And not only do we have bicyclists through here, we have people walking. We have people jogging through here that are going from the Boomtown to the Beau Rivage. They're jogging through here. And not only are they jogging through here, we have a diverse group. And just like I told some of the people, because once upon a time we were the premier and pretty much the African American community. Now we are a diverse community.
Right.
And I let people know this. I let them know this. I'm not just the councilman for African Americans. I'm the councilman for African Americans, Hispanics, white, for all people. Everybody who lives in this area, I am their councilman. Not just for the black folks, not just for the churches. I'm the councilman for all people.
And I want to go on the record and say this real quick, Felix, if I may. You never were my councilman. I never lived in your district. Your district, when I started getting involved in Biloxi politics, I lived in Ward 1 because I lived on Trabia Avenue, south of the tracks. So your ward was at the railroad tracks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
If you went north across the tracks, I was in your ward. But
right.
Even though you were not my councilman, George Lawrence was my councilman when I lived over there in that area. And I could still reach out and talk to you.
Absolutely.
That's how approachable that you've always been with me. And, this is not a new thing. We didn't just, get acquainted. We didn't just become friends. You've always had an open door policy, and that is definitely to your credit, sir.
Thank you. It has its pros and it has its cons, because when you open yourself up to people, a lot of times it opens you up for the negative side too. And as you see now with this campaign, it has made a drastic negative turn. And this is the first time ever that I've been involved in anything like this. I would never in my life say anything bad about an opponent, and I would never in my life do dirty politics. I went up being straightforward, and I'll go down.
Well, let's be fair on this. Let's be fair. I haven't heard, granted, I know there's a couple of commercials out, but I don't watch TV. I'll be honest with you. I really don't. I haven't heard Zach Grady say anything negative about you, but I've heard a lot of his supporters say quite a bit negative about you. And that is a problem.
If I may address that,
you may.
There was one thing that was done in my campaign that was deemed close to negative, and I reached out and I stopped it, and I shut it down. And if you're the man on the top, you're responsible for everything that happens in your camp. And if it happens in your camp, it's on. As a politician, I take the blame for everything that happens in my camp. Period.
I agree, and see now that's the mark of a man. Yes. That is definitely the mark of a man. Well, Felix, if you want to say anything else while I've got you here, I'll let you go ahead and remind people that the runoff is Tuesday, and I'll let you close it out, sir, if you will.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Once again, Tuesday the 29th, please come on out with Felix O'Gines for District 115 State Representative. you will have true representative, a true state representative that has an open door policy, willing to talk and willing to do what it takes to make Biloxi and D'Iberville better. And that's what it's all about. No dirty politics. We come and we aim to please. Thank you so much, Anthony, for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and thank y'all for listening. This is Wide Awake in South Mississippi.